Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Good any time of the day or night, wherever you are. Peace and blessings, and thank you for spending part of your day with me. In the previous segment, we learned from the first paragraph of the chapter entitled Let's Make a Slave that Willie Lynch, along with other slave owners, studied human nature, particularly slave nature, and became very proficient in their assessments of the human slave nature. For the one thing they recognized was that these Africans were human, not wood, not earth, not stone. They were human beings, and like any human being who was threatened and endangered, they would respond in a way to protect themselves, their families, and their way of life. So when the Opegs displayed extreme behavior, the natural human response of the Africans was to respond with like extreme measures. And unless the Opegs could put in place circumstances so spiritually, physically, and mentally egregious as to render the Africans severely and violently broken and left in a nearly catatonic state, enslaving them into perpetuity would not be possible. Remember, the Opegs never intended for slavery to end. Let's explore the depths and inconceivable measures that the Opegs used to make the slave in the following 3 paragraphs, and to coin a phrase, by any means necessary. 1. Were they the victims of such wrongs? They were constantly looking for signs of the dreaded retribution. They watched, therefore, with skilled and practiced eyes, and learned to read with great accuracy the state of mind and the heart of the slave through his sable face. 2. Let's make a slave. What do we need first? We need a black N-word man, a pregnant N-word woman, and her N-word baby boy. Second, I will use the same basic principle that we use in the breaking of a horse, combined with some more sustaining factors. 3, when we do it with horses, we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature. Whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their needs and the needs of their offspring, we break that natural string of independence from them and thereby create a dependent state so that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure. The first of the 3 preceding paragraphs starts with the question, were they the victims of such wrongs? Here, they were referring to the Opegs. Remember, the Africans had done nothing to even be in America, let alone being enslaved. So no, the Opegs had not been wronged, but because they had wronged the Africans for no reason, they were constantly thinking that the Africans were going to retaliate. So they were constantly watching them to make sure that they stayed in line. Now at this point, they were using the old methods of beating them, hanging them, torturing them, and meting out and exacting all kinds of punishment to keep them in line. The slave owners had not completely internalized or adopted the Willie Lynch method, so they were using the old methods to control the Africans. However, they were also using the fact that the Africans were in a strange land, surrounded by things with which they were not familiar, with strange people who spoke strange languages. They were not sure that if they fled north, should they have been going south, or if they ran to the east, should they have been running west. The Africans had no idea how far away they were from home. This played to the slave owners' advantage while they learned the Willie Lynch method and how to implement it. The next paragraph spoke about what they would need and said that they would need a black N-word man, a pregnant N-word woman, and her N-word baby boy. Why these specific three things? In these three things lie the family unit and the ability to procreate and extend the descendant line. Why not a baby girl? Probably because the baby girl would not extend the line of her father, but the baby boy would. In addition, the word black was used with the African man. He was the symbol of strength in the African family unit. Also notice that the N-word is used quite a bit. This was to establish with the Africans, and particularly with the OPEGs, the dehumanizing of the African people, teaching the OPEGs to consider the Africans to be less than human, and as a part of the Willie Lynch indoctrination, delude the Africans into debasing, demoralizing, and dehumanizing themselves. Secondly, it was said that they would use the same principles breaking the Africans as they used to break horses, removing the desire and responsibility to provide for its offspring, and having removed it, relegating that responsibility to the owner. In like manner, the Africans would become wholly dependent upon the OPEGs to provide what heretofore the African males had provided for their families, diminishing the dependence of the female and the offspring upon the African males. No doubt this had a devastating psychological impact on the African family unit and still does today. Africans would become completely vulnerable to the will and whims of their owners, thus removing the need to be independent and creating full dependency upon the OPEGs. One more thing. Why is the word black used at all? There is no line of people, no descendants from or of black. Black is not a country. Black is not a bloodline. Black is a color, and a word that is still used to psychologically separate or disconnect us from our bloodlines, our ancestors, our home. Now, I'm going a little bit off course here, but I just want to explain this. The Oxford Dictionary describes black as the absence or complete absorption of visible light and achromatic color, lacking hue and a color, often associated with darkness, mystery, and power. If any of us were to be placed in the middle of a room completely devoid of light, we would be paralyzed, stuck. Because without being able to see, we wouldn't know if by stepping forward, we would go over a cliff, or stepping backward, we would land in a ditch. We would not step to one side or the other for fear of the unknown. We would be completely paralyzed. It is my belief that we were and are intentionally referred to as black to psychologically hold us in a constant state of stuck. So I am not a black descendant. I am an African descendant, and I am blessed to be so. So this was a longer than usual video, so I won't be staying on here long. I will say that the information in this video, please consider it. Please know that it is to make us know what we're doing. My people perish for lack of knowledge. All right. So thank you for joining me. Peace and blessings to you. And always, always, always stay woke. All right. We will see you next time. Love y'all.